week and a half, 2 weeks ago, before this filming. I saw Clownfish TV. They did a video, and it was about Wizards of the Coast, WotC. And they were going out there and making a swipe, an attack at the old school gamers. Those of us that played the game back in the 80s and whatnot. And they had this horrible clown-like figure, overweight, disgusting, and they were calling it, the Clownfish, which, if people are familiar with D&D, in the second edition, that was to hit calculations for the rules. Everyone kind of laughed about that. Within D&D, Thaco is still kind of a joke amongst us old-time players. Now this is not a reprint or something that was bought at a secondhand store or anything like that. This is the copy that I had of D&D, or I should say AD&D as we called it back then, and now they call it first edition, that I picked up back in the 80s. I just missed out the really classic cover that I like, with the temple being sacked by the adventuring parties. But yeah, this has been the Orange Spine, as they call it, in my collection for 40 years almost now. And yes, it's been used lovingly. And I have quite a bit of the first edition books. Of course, you have to have the Dungeons Master Guide. You had to have the Monster Manual. Then you went along with the Unearthed Arcana, and you had the Monster Manual 2. I had to buy that twice. One got stolen that I had first. The Fiend Folio, and amongst other things in these books. Oriental Adventures. There's one. And they're all in my library over here. I never get rid of, or hardly ever get rid of, anything that I have for book-wise, much to the long-suffering Mrs. Tagge's chagrin, as we live in virtually a library of a house. What does this have to do with why we fight, and why I'm bringing this up? You see, it seems like the people over at WotC seems to have forgotten that they would not have this if it wasn't for that. What point am I making here? You see, it comes up, people will bring it up now and then about the Great Witch Hunt back in the 80s with the hit piece by 60 Minutes and the Bible-built, Southern Baptist type churches running around screaming that this is all Satanism, and those who are playing D&D are dabbling in the dark arts, and we're nothing but this or that. Now, just to clarify something here, I grew up in a rather conservative household, and I'm rather conservative. And I went to, and still do, a very conservative church. In fact, I have returned back to the church I grew up in. So I am a very devout Lutheran, Missouri Synod. You can't get much more conservative in the Lutheran Church than that. There are, but not much more. We never had that experience, thank God. My neighbors behind me that got me into D&D, Roman Catholic. And we had everything in between as we're playing these games. We never felt that inquisition against us. Thankfully. I feel sorry for those that did. So I'm going to clarify that part, that for myself, I didn't. The closest I had, where I was talking about the Monster Manual 2, when I went to high school, one of the teachers didn't like it, took it away. When I came back afterwards, I'd like to have my book back. I don't know where it is. The guy was I almost broke my rule about using foul language on my channel. But figure it out, what I was going to say. You probably know. The thing is, though, even though myself personally and my core group, we never suffered that. We laughed at Mazes and Monsters when it came out, and it's like, oh, come on, whatever. And the other attacks, we grew, and some of us grew out of the hobby. That's fine. Some people grow different directions. But those of us who stayed, we were there when TSR was going through some of its darkest times. You didn't know if they were going to be around anymore, but we stuck by them. We went into the second edition. We were engrossed in the wide worlds that they offered us, be it Forgotten Realms, be it Dragonlance, Greyhawk, which is my personal favorite. I'm an old timer that way. Spelljammer, Ravenloft, Amistra, the Oriental Adventures, all across the board. What they're offering, we're helping keeping that hobby alive, even up to the point when WotC came around and took over and gave us the third edition, and of course 3.5, and we still kept it alive. All the times that they're wondering, will this hobby survive? We have video games now coming out, this and that. We stayed. And then to be turned around and told that we're nothing but a bunch of freaking clowns, caught myself there, to them, that we're nothings and we're worthless, and anything we have to sit back and say is phobic and ist and this and that. Why do we fight? Because we went through all that and we still love it. It's in our heart. This is why we love this system. This is why we're willing to go to this, to keep it alive. And when we start getting treated like that, we start thinking, do I really want to? Obviously, you don't give a dang about us. You're sneering at us while you have your hand out. Give me some money while I make fun of you. We fight because we love. We love what we had, and we want to pass this on to the next generation. I was able to somewhat pass it on to my next generation. My daughter's boyfriend picked up the entire 3-book set and trying to figure out how to play D&D. They don't want an old fogey like me around, but, that they're going and learning these new experiences. Keep it as pure as possible and keep the politics, identity crap out of this. You can do that on your own as you go in there. You don't need to start putting it in there and telling us this is the way it's got to be, you bigot. Well, excuse me. You're the bigot. You're the ones that are ungrateful. You're the ones who are spiteful, and you're the ones that are hateful. Not us. This is why we fight. Baron Orman Tagge. Thank you.